Hi, I'm MJ from Lioness Publications. And with this session, we're going to continue down the rabbit hole that we started this morning. And in this case, we're going to be looking at another incident in the past of Texas. This has to do with a school explosion in 1937. Now, before that, I just want to come back and just talk a little bit about what we're looking at, and that's a configuration in the natal chart of Texas. Now, many of the natal charts of the other states will have configurations, and typically configuration is something that involves one or more planets, so that a transiting planet hits it, it's hitting all these planets at the same time. It's not uncommon. But in a case like Texas, we can go back and identify what's been happening when pieces of this have been touched on. And in July, what we saw was that we saw this configuration being activated in a negative fashion by planets like Neptune and Jupiter. Neptune with the water, Jupiter with the excess. Now, the configuration contains Mars, Mercury, and the Wounded Warrior. Mars is in opposition to Wounded Warrior. It's also square to Mercury. Mercury is also square to the Wounded Warrior. Now, this has occurred previously, and one of the things that occurred in July, and I talked about in that video, is that in this case, it looks like the officials' responsibility were not taken seriously. So they were not watching when they should have been looking for alerts. They were not doing what they should have been doing. I can't say anything about 30 or 40 years ago when the same type of incident happened. Okay, I can't say anything about Uvalde because I think that's still sort of evolving, and Uvalde is the school where the shooting took place. So in some cases, officials in Texas seem to be shirking their duties. In Uvalde, they didn't do what they should have been doing. They should have been protecting kids. Here, in July, they should have been, officials should have been protecting kids. That's their job. So let's take a look, though, and get back to this. And March 18th, 1937, what happened is we had a gas explosion at a school in Texas, and it was a New London school. It killed 300 people, almost all of them children. We did have staff members. That is a very high and very tragic amount of people to have been killed. So let's take a look at some of the things that are showing up here. So we have our configuration, which is the Mars, the Mercury, and the Wounded Warrior. But I also want to note is that the Mars here is actually also conjunct Uranus in the natal chart. So that can make for sudden. So a lot of these things are sudden in the way that it goes bad. So it's not perceived beforehand that it's going to go bad like this. Now, what's significant is that in 1937, we had Eris, a planet that is usually known for catastrophe, sitting right on Mars. Now, I don't usually talk about Eris too much because it's a dwarf planet. And it was only discovered in 2005. In fact, its discovery caused a lot of debate and discourse. Specifically, its discovery caused Pluto to be subgraded to a dwarf planet. And while Pluto isn't now not a planet, it's a dwarf planet, it still have a great significance in astrology. Same thing with Eris. It was named after a goddess of discord and, in effect, catastrophe. So I usually try not to put it too much into readings until we get more data. on how this is playing out. In this case, I did because what happens is the event already happened. So we know it was a catastrophe. And we know that this played a part in it. And by the way, when a planet or entity out in space is discovered, usually at the time of its discovery, they look at what's going on in the world at that time. And that's how the name and the meanings are given to that planet. So, for example, Pluto was discovered around the time of the atom bomb. Okay, so nuclear. Now let's move on to the next page, which is the solar arc. I don't have a progression here. And in this case, and again, this is still the school, we have our 3 points, but now 2 other parts are activated. We have the 4th leg of the grand square being activated, and it's activated by Mars. So again, aggression, the burning, fire. Over here on Mars, we have Mercury. And again, Mercury can mean a lot of different things. But in this case, since we're looking at it from, from the event already happening, we can identify that it's going to be children. Okay. It can also be schools, playgrounds, campgrounds. But in this case, we've got children involved. Now, what's significant here? So these two are significant in that, yeah, an event is going to happen. But what I want to bring in here is Jupiter. Again, we always think of Jupiter as being great, giving us opportunities and things like this. Well, sometimes too much of something isn't good. So in this case, what we have is Jupiter making a trine to both Mars and Uranus. You would think a trine is good. I'm always saying trines are good. Well, sometimes they're not good. I know sometimes rules, not everything goes by the rules. And remember, I keep on saying Jupiter is expansive. It's gaseous. Oh, gaseous. Did I just say that? Yes, gaseous. Too much of something. So what is it doing here? It is just flaming up this fire more. So in effect, by trining it, it's providing more ammunition. It's the gaseous part of it. So think of this as, remember, it's natural gas, gaseous. So this is identifying, and most people, if they haven't done enough charts, would say, oh, okay, this is good. That means that this is not going to be as bad as it could be. Well, no, trine is, in effect, building more into it. It's harmonious. It's working well, which means in this case, it's actually giving more fuel to the fire. Yeah. But okay, so this concludes going down the rabbit hole of Texas. And I did want to mention in the last session I did just earlier today on Texas, I didn't really say whether the redistricting would work or not. And let me clarify that in this session, in that they're probably going to be able to get away with some of it, but not all of it. It looks like they might be able to get it passed in Texas, but then when it goes to the United States level, there may be some objection to that. Okay, which is why I had those where I brought in the pieces on the United States interactions. Otherwise, I hope you have a great day, and bye now.